Hey, you! Always wanted to hang out with cool Disney park fans, but worried that you don't have enough trivial knowledge to make a good impression? Well, then you're in the right place, because I've got a list of the most nerdy, random Disney park facts that will take you from a 0 to a really smart sounding person. And there are so many nerdy facts out there to consume. Like, did you know about the 5-legged goat in the Contemporary Resort? Mary Blair was one of Disney's best designers, mostly known for her amazing work on the iconic It's a Small World ride. When it came time to design the massive Grand Canyon Concourse, Mary Blair was tasked with creating a huge 9-story tall mural. Now, it's rumored that Walt Disney wouldn't let any of his artists sign their work. I don't know why. Oh, control freak! Something in my throat. So Imagineers had to get creative when it came to leaving their mark. In Mary's case, that led to her adding a 5-legged goat at the top of the mural that could be seen as the monorail whizzed through the hotel's concourse. Amazing, right? Except she totally signed her name along with other Imagineers and designers that helped bring the mural to life. The real reason for the 5-legged abomination? It was placed there to remind people that nothing man-made is perfect. Or who knows at this point, that could be another Disney lie. That is just one of many little facts that you can use to make yourself into a local Disney Parks historian. This is my list of favorite nerdy Disney facts to impress your friends. It happened at Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World was the place to be when it opened in the 1970s, and not just for millions of families. A surprising number of pop culture touchstone events happened right on the grounds of the world-famous resort. The Beatles broke up in 1970. But the official dissolution papers weren't drawn up until 1974. George, Paul, and Ringo were on hand to sign, or had already signed in the case of Ringo Starr, but there was one band member who wasn't present, John Lennon, who explained to lawyers that the stars just weren't right. Which really makes me wish I had a decent Liverpool accent I could use. I don't, I can't do accents. What was the right time for John Lennon? That would be December 29th, 1974. But more important to this video is the place, the Polynesian at Walt Disney World. With the signing of those documents, the Beatles officially ended. And it all happened on Disney property. But that's not the craziest pop culture moment that had occurred at the newly opened resort. A year previous, in November of 1973, then President Richard Nixon agreed to do a question and answer session with reporters from the Associated Press regarding his involvement in the Watergate scandal. And it happened at the Contemporary Resort. That's right. The famous "I am not a crook" speech was delivered from that hotel's ballroom of the Americas. By the mid-70s, Walt Disney World had witnessed 2 deaths. One being the end of arguably the most famous band of all time, and the other being the political death of one of the most infamous American presidents of all time. And it all happened right there on the monorail line. Disney is so trashy. Everyone knows that Walt Disney determined that the average person would walk 30 feet before abandoning a search for a trash receptacle and deciding to just dump whatever trash they were holding straight on the ground. But that's not the only trashy fact out there. At the time of Disneyland's opening, trash cans were typically round and open at the top, but that didn't work for Walt, who was obsessed with cleanliness in his new park and knew that those cans would spill over and smell like, well, garbage. So he covered his cans and added a swinging lid, an innovation that has become commonplace today. Out of sight, out of mind. Sadly, everyone told Disney that the idea was too stupid to patent, which just means that there's one less thing out there that Disney owns. Plus, those Disney cans are fun to look at, which is completely by design. The colorful trash cans are themed and painted not just to match their surroundings, but to entice you to use them. Hey look, I'm throwing out this empty popcorn box and I'm loving it! Psychologically manipulating guests to be eco-friendly. The Magic Kingdom was also the first place in the US to use an AVAX, or Automated Vacuum Assisted Collection System, if you're nasty. A trash collection device from Sweden that uses these huge vacuum tubes that move trash around from the park to one central collection point. At any given time, an average of 80,000 pounds of garbage are moving under your feet as you frantically run to make that next lightning lane reservation. Those trash facts will be great next time you're enjoying an Epcot meal on top of a can. Go away green. Disney works really hard on their theming. It's one of the things that sets the Disney resorts apart from almost every park on the planet. But sometimes, there are things that they have to add in plain sight that they just don't want you to see. Let me drop an example on you. You're in Fantasyland, surrounded by a magical mix of fairy godmothers, princesses, and a very randy Gaston. Everything is amazing, except for this giant electrical box that's the real source of all the magic. Sorry, Pixie Dust, we're gonna need raw megawatts. Disney doesn't want you focusing on that. They want to maintain the illusion of Fantasyland. To help with that, they formulated their own shade of green that helps erase and camouflage construction walls, backstage buildings, anything that might draw your attention and break the illusion. Combined with greenery, they formulated a palette full of brown, gray, and green hues that the human eye naturally wants to ignore. There's also a go-away blue that they use to blend large show buildings into the sky. It's why the gigantic Cosmic Rewind show building isn't more of a huge eyesore when walking around Epcot. Bonus fact, the shade of blue used in Florida is different than the shade that is used in California to reflect the natural differences between the sky coloring. Florida or bust. When Walt Disney died, he was deep into the Florida project. We all know that this was the project designed to bring a massive Disney resort to the Florida town of West Palm Beach. Hey, that doesn't sound right. When Walt was exploring locations for his new theme park, he was ready to move forward on property near West Palm Beach, but he was kind of wary about the deal since the local government couldn't guarantee that they could protect the new project from encroachment from third-party developers. After what had happened surrounding Disneyland, it was important that he have complete control of the Florida resort. During the West Palm negotiations, Walt and his brother Roy were introduced to Earlo Bronson Sr., presumably before he became a popular highway. The Florida senator was a rancher that owned a ton of land near Kissimmee, and catching wind of Disney's intentions in Florida, saw an opportunity to bring a massive amount of tourism to his hometown. Earlo met with Disney executives at a fried chicken dinner hosted in a small house on his cattle ranch. It was at that meeting where Earlo Bronson promised to sell them his land for an extremely low price, plus protect that land from any other businesses looking to capitalize on the eventual Walt Disney World property. It was through Bronson that Walt was able to procure 70% of present-day Disney World. Plus, it was Bronson's influence that helped establish the amazing Reedy Creek Improvement District, leading to such unmatched autonomy. Today, the house where Walt Disney ate fried chicken with Earlo Bronson has been relocated to a backstage area where it's used as an environmental science department. And what did Earlo Bronson get from the deal besides the money? According to his family, well, nothing. He really just wanted to help the Orlando Kissimmee area grow. And grow it did. Is this room actually stretching? There are a ton of geeky facts about the classic Disney attractions, but since the Haunted Mansion is my personal favorite, let's take a look at some of the things that make that ride one of the best of all time. First up, did you know that the stretching room in Disneyland was created out of necessity? Since the actual ride show building exists past the berm, Imagineers needed a way to get guests under the railroad tracks and onto the ride. Because of this, the stretching is actually an elevator, getting all of the ride's victims underground. The Magic Kingdom doesn't have this issue, so on the East Coast, the ceiling is actually stretching as you stay rooted in one place. In 1974, a guest riding Disneyland's mansion took a couple of shots at the ghosts in the ballroom scene with a firearm that he'd managed to smuggle in. The shots hit the large sheet of glass, which would have been incredibly expensive and basically impossible to replace without removing the entire roof of the attraction. Their solution? Slap a spider web over it and call it a day. They even stuck the same spider webs in the same spot in the Magic Kingdom, even though that glass has so far remained bullet-free. Don't get any ideas. Madame Leota was famously portrayed by the late Imagineer Leota Toombs. But when new footage was needed for the Haunted Mansion Holidays overlay, Disney brought in her daughter Kim Irvine to take over the role from her legendary mother. And they didn't have to try very hard to find her, since she herself was carrying on the family tradition, working as an art director for Walt Disney Imagineering. While the Haunted Mansion is the spot for spreading the ashes of the dearly departed, it's best not to do it, as this will just result in a quick dust bustering. If you hear cast members mention a HEPA cleanup, then that means somebody has dumped a loved one and they need to be, let's just say, relocated. Other terms that cast members unofficially use are Code A or even Code Grandma. Appropriate? It's also a misdemeanor offense, but no one has ever been arrested for it, as Disney's instruction is to immediately escort the offender off the property. Pee like an animal. Next time you're in the Disney World parks, take a look at the bathrooms. If you notice, most of the restrooms have no closed doors. Just walk in, do your business, and take off back into the park for more fun. But wash your hands, you filthy animals! Animals. Oh, like Animal Kingdom. Let's look at their bathrooms. Interesting. The doors on the Animal Kingdom bathrooms are closed. I wonder if that's intentional. Of course it is. And for a very interesting reason. The bathrooms at Disney's Animal Kingdom are all safe spaces. Why would Animal Kingdom need safe spaces when the other parks don't? It's just in case a diddly animal gets loose in the park and guests have to find a safe spot to wait for danger to pass. Next time you're there, remember that while it's highly unlikely that you'll be stalked by a panther, that percentage is never zero. Pests controlled. Completely. Florida is known for many things, one of them being those pesky flying bloodsuckers, the mosquito. But have you ever noticed that while in Disney World they just aren't around? That's because of the extensive Disney World mosquito prevention and monitoring that's practically eliminated them from the parks. And just what does that entail? Sure, they do use carbon dioxide traps to attract and eliminate, but that's not nearly geek enough for this video. They also use some innovative park designs that make it really difficult for the pests to live and lay eggs. First, any water is always moving and circulating. Fountains, waterfalls, those aren't just cool features. They're also preventing stagnant water that's basically just a breeding ground for the tiny vampires. Park buildings are curved to prevent rainwater from collecting. Plants, trees, and flowers prevent water from building up in the soil. Ponds are stocked with fish that just love eating mosquito larvae, and any standing water is immediately eliminated by park staff. The entire area is one big mosquito death trap. That's why you can just leave that repellent at home without worrying about becoming one big bug snack. So that was a lot of facts to cram into your brain. Next time you're at a party and someone busts out a lame fact about Cinderella's castle at Disneyland, don't just correct them and then drop a knowledge bomb on them. You'll finally become the most popular person in your friend circle. And maybe you'll even convert a few of them into becoming Disney Park superfans themselves. It may even lead to your own cult. Even tell me you don't want your own cult.